Hi, everyone. I, like millions of Americans, saw the debate last week, and I have something to say about it too. Sort of an open letter to the president, Democratic Party, Democrat or left leaning pundits, or just pundits who are against Trump. I have some things to say about that. Right now is a very scary time for women. It's very scary. We don't just have draconian laws causing us to die of unnecessarily of completely preventable conditions, but we have the threat of Project 2025 running an authoritarian government. If Trump gets elected, we have so much stuff that we need to know about, and then nobody's talking about it. But Joe Biden's debate performance, replacing him, like he can be replaced, like with what money? Who are you going to replace him with? Seriously, I've heard names. Gretchen Whitmore, love her. Gavin Newsom, he seems great. This country doesn't know them. You have to realize that not everybody follows politics. Most people don't follow politics. I'm an anomaly. I'm a politics junkie. Since I was like a kid, too. It's always interested me. Yet somehow we assume that everybody just knows. People just know Gavin Newsom and he's going to be better. And everybody just knows Gretchen Whitmore. You expect by November to raise the money, set up the infrastructure, have the volunteers to switch out the candidate. Really? Pundits, you know better. You've worked in all sorts of campaigns. You know it's too late. And all this does is undermine the potential of Joe Biden winning. That's all it does. And statistically speaking, if there is opposition within the party of the incumbent, trend-wise, he's going to lose based on that alone. Don't believe me? Oh, okay. So we have Donald Trump. Huge internal party drama. He loses. Civil war in the GOP, the normals versus MAGA, or whatever the media called it. And go back to George H.W. Bush. He had significant opposition and trouble within his party. Then Ross Perot comes and boom, Bill Clinton's elected. Go back to Jimmy Carter being challenged by Ted Kennedy. Jimmy Carter becomes a one-term president. So that trend goes back quite a few more. I'm just not going to take the time right now to keep on going, but you get my point. I get that you don't want to lie to your listeners. I'm not saying you should. Of course, you should report that Joe Biden's performance wasn't good. But it's not newsworthy anymore. He had a shitty performance. Why don't you talk about how shitty Donald Trump's performance was? He lied from the time he opens his mouth to the time of the end of the debate. Seriously? You don't have anything to say about all the weird things that happened with him. You don't have much to say about all the weird stuff that happens during his rallies or the dangerous rhetoric he uses. You don't have anything to say about that. But Joe Biden's old. Oh, you have a whole 40 minutes to talk about that. And it's not helpful. Yeah, we all know he's old. If you were for a Democratic run government or you're just anti-Trump, none of this is helpful. None of it. None of it is helpful, especially to people like me. They're coming for women's rights. Every day they remind us about different things that they're going to take away from women or what they dream of taking away. Our right to vote, our right to own our own bank accounts, our right to our own bodies, our own, if we want to stay in a marriage or not. So while, yes, it should be talked about, you should have moved on. Maybe Saturday, maybe Sunday. You don't need to keep rehashing how awful the debate performance was. And it was actually uncharacteristic of Biden. I can't really remember a really awful speech he's ever given. You didn't report on his awesome speech when he was at Normandy earlier in June. You don't ever report on all the other accomplishments he's made. Maybe the American people think the economy is terrible is because you don't tell them that there's anything good about it. You know, the political climate doesn't just come from politicians. It comes from the media of all types, mainstream, independent, punditry, YouTube, influencers, whoever. And politicians especially. I don't know what you're doing. Stop leaking to the media that there's backdoor discussions. Have the discussions with President Biden if you are really that opposed to it. But it's too late. So are you going to keep on going on about how much you don't want Biden to be the candidate? Or are you going to go on and do everything you can to get him elected? Because a Trump presidency cannot happen again. It cannot happen. It cannot happen. Maybe you're okay because you've got a bunker in Portugal or New Zealand or whatever it is rich people go to nowadays. That's great for you. What about the rest of us? Republicans who are against Trump especially, you helped create this mess. You helped create it. Either by complacency, by not saying anything, trying to keep your office so you could be the adult in the room, when it's probably about your ego. If you're publicly opposed to Trump and a politician, there's no saving you. He's wants you at Gitmo with the rest of them. So, like, especially if you're a politician, Republican politician, and publicly opposed him, you should be doing everything you can to get Joe Biden elected. If the Democratic Party chose a wet paper bag as their candidate, you should be trying to get elected president because you have no political future. Donald Trump wants you probably to go to a military tribunal and be executed. You know the awful things that he's going to do. You know that Joe Biden can do the job. You know all this. You know he's a decent and good man. Yet you sit there and say, I just cannot bear to vote for Joe Biden. Really. No problem supporting an adjudicated rapist. You have no problem supporting, some pretty terrible people. But now that you publicly oppose Trump, you just can't bear to vote for Joe Biden. That's not going to save you if Trump wins. And like I said, maybe you have a bunker, maybe you have a safe place to go. That's great for you. Thanks for making the mess and expecting the rest of us to clean it up. Again, I'm not saying the media and pundits should lie to their viewers. No. But all you do is drill into the American people how awful Biden is because he's old. Maybe they think he's old. Maybe he does so well, so terribly in polling. It's because you keep telling people he's terrible. You all have a lot of influence, a lot of influence. And you know that, especially if you have a huge YouTube platform. The Supreme Court has pretty much laid down the groundwork for Project 2025, and most people don't know about it. I think they'd rather know that than Joe Biden's old, because they already know that. They already know he stutters. He moves slow. They need to know what a Trump presidency looks like and how it affects them. How tax cuts that he plans on doesn't help them. It helps the wealthy. He could care less about middle class and lower income people. He's happy to make homeless people a crime to be homeless. That's the most absurd thing I've heard from especially Christians. That's another video though. So I don't know what the solution is. I do know that what we're doing, no, I'm not doing that because I'm trying to do things to get Joe Biden elected or whoever is not Donald Trump at this point. Personally, I think Joe Biden's done a great job. A really great job. Yeah, he had some failures. What president doesn't? I mean, why aren't we talking about how dangerous the Supreme Court decision is? Most Americans probably don't even know the decision happened. Most Americans don't know how it affects them. So maybe we should be talking about that instead of rehashing about how old Joe Biden is, how much of a stutterer he is, or whatever it is you have to complain about. And let's do something productive because a lot of lives depend on it. A lot of lives. That's all I got. Vote, vote, vote. That's all I gotta say. Last thing, vote. Have a great day.